The Solutionix C500 is available in several different configurations, which make it flexible for use in many different applications. There are 4 different lens kits with fields of view that range from 90 millimeters to 500 millimeters. On that largest field of view, you'll get an accuracy of about 30 microns, and on the smallest field of view, you'll get an accuracy of about 10 microns. I currently on here have the C500 in the turntable configuration, which means I have the head attached to the main body of the scanner with an automatic turntable. For the lens kit, I have the 175 millimeter field of view lens in there, which will give me an accuracy of about 15 microns. So I will show the C500 in this configuration and then show the processing. Then I will also at the end show how you can take the head off of this unit, put it on a tripod, and use targets for scanning on that tripod and moving the scanner around instead of using the turntable for larger objects. All right, so what I'm going to scan today is this little metal part. It is a machined part. I am just going to put this blue tack right here and just place that down just like that. Now, the C500 does come with various brackets and attachments that let you attach parts to the turntable, but I'm just going to use this blue tack for simplicity's sake. Here I am in the Easy Scan software. If I open up the Scan tab here, you'll see a preview. If I put my hand in here, you can see this is the part that I'm looking at. You have a couple different options here. So first of all is a brightness adjustment. This is your brightness for your part. For really dark objects, you'll need to brighten that up. So I can just adjust my brightness. You can see the red here is any portions that are kind of blown out. They're maybe a little too bright, but that's okay. There is an auto brightness option. You can just either double click somewhere on the image or click this auto brightness button right here. There are a few other options which I will show when we get to the tripod scanning. At the bottom here, I have various scan paths that I am able to select. I'm going to use the standard scan path for this one. These are custom scan paths that I've created. If I click this little gear here, it opens up the scan path editor, and you can go in and create your different scan paths. And a scan path is the motions that the turntable goes through while you are scanning your object. So this right here gives it all the individual positions for each of these paths or custom paths that I created. It does come with some default ones, but you can customize these. I'm going to close this out. It's going to give me a little error because I set mine to read only, so I don't accidentally change anything. But this looks pretty good. I have my part centered in the middle here. What I'm going to do is do a single scan. When I click auto here, it will scan using the selected scan path at the bottom. And you will see it start to capture that data. Now, this will take a few minutes in those scan paths. I put a little note on how long each of those takes. Depending on what you're doing, you could use, you can capture your data in a couple different ways. So the first option is to use a scan path with many, many positions. So the more positions you have in that scan path, the more area it's going to cover on your part, and therefore the more it's going to capture. Now that might work great, but an easier way would maybe to be have a smaller or a shorter scan path, and then just flip that part around and scan it in multiple positions. Now, I don't need full coverage on this part. If you were reverse engineering this, then really you only need to capture the general shape. You would know what critical areas you were trying to capture here. So all I'm going to do with this one is scan it in this position here, and then I will flip it over when this scan is done, and I will do another scan, and then we'll combine both of those. So I'm going to go ahead and just let this scan. I'll fast forward a bit. I'll flip it over when this first one is done, scan again, and then we'll combine that data. So this just finished. It is going back to the home position right now. I am going to hide this data that we already captured, get that out of the way. And then I will flip this over, press that back in there, just like that. Check my brightness. And we'll go again. Okay, so we are done. We just did the 2 different scans. So I can close out that scan tab. You can see on the left-hand side, each of these scans is actually made up of individual frames. I have them in 2 different groups, so those are my 2 different scans here. The first thing that I'm going to do here is edit out what I don't need in each of these scans. If I come in here, I can just, there's no editing screen or anything like that. I can just come in and edit just by dragging my mouse. And then when I'm done selecting what I want to erase, I can just hit the delete key and it will remove that data. If I cut off some of this, I don't really care because I flipped it over and got it from the other side. All right. Now let's look at the other one. All right, that looks good. So if I look, these aren't lined up yet. So I'm going to come over to my align screen where I can line both of those scans up. So what we have here is on the top, we have one of the scans. And then in the bottom left is what is already aligned. So one of mine is moved over to the aligned group because I'm going to align everything else to that. And what you want to do here is click a few common points, and you'll see on the right-hand side, this is what the result will look like. So if I click, and you want to be fairly precise when you're doing this. So if I just click where this common geometry is, you can see on the left-hand or on the right-hand side here, it's starting to snap everything together. All right, and then when you're good, you can click apply. And everything's snapped together. Apply all my changes. Okay, so this is good. The final thing I'm going to do is run a global align. That's going to take all of the scan frames that I captured and make sure that they're all snapped in right where they should be. It's kind of like your final fine-tune alignment of all those individual frames. Okay, so that's done. Now we can merge all of that data together. I have them selected over here on the left-hand side. I can come to my merge. There's a couple different resolution options. HD is a one-to-one captured data to output. SD kind of cuts those in half, I believe, and then UHD will double the resolution. So you can actually get sharper resolutions with UHD, but it's actually adding in points in between. So HD is what we want. There's a couple different options for filling holes. I'm going to leave it right here in the middle, but there is an option to tell it to not fill any holes at all and don't change the boundaries of anything. I'm just going to leave it right in the middle and click apply. And then that will take a couple of minutes. So I'll go ahead and fast forward here a bit, and then we'll look at the results. Okay, so this has finished up. If we look at our results here, we're seeing some really clean data. You can see there's captured all these little notches here. This does have some various pits and other imperfections on it, and you can see all that come in this data here. So at this point, there's a couple more things that we can do to clean this up and get this ready for use in a different program. I can select my data. I can choose to reduce my polygon count. So I am currently, if I look in the bottom left-hand corner here, I'm currently at around 9 million polygons. I could reduce that further if I wanted to. Let's say, just reduce it a few million to 80% of its current polygon count. Depending on the percentage that you put in there, it may take longer, but this shouldn't take too long at all. It's just going down a few percentages. But this tool right here allows you to take something that might be way too dense to use in certain CAD programs and bring it down to a more usable poly count. All right, so that finished up right there. If you look, we went from, I set this to 80%, so we went from 9 million to about 7 million polygons. I'll probably reduce that a little bit more before exporting. But when I am done, I can close that. And there is also an option for deleting small clusters. So if there was any data, and this all looks pretty clean here, but if there was any disconnected data where you had little floating triangles and stuff and you wanted to clear out some of that, there is an option to delete those small clusters of polygons. Okay, so those are the results. If I'm ready to export, you can do a couple different things, but I'm going to right click on my data, click export, and I can export this as an STL file right here and put that wherever I want. Click save, and it will export that as an STL file. Now, that is the C500 with the turntable. The turntable allows you to just, as you saw, place an object onto the turntable, and the system keeps track of where that turntable is, so it's able to place those frames, position them properly. The alternative, if you're scanning larger items, or maybe you're scanning a smaller thing that's on the side of some larger object and you can't remove that thing, so you need to take the scanner to it, you can actually use tracking dots, those little stick-on targets, with the C500 on a tripod. So that's what we will look at next. So I've removed the C500 head from the turntable station and placed it onto a standard tripod using the 3/8 inch connection on the underside of the tripod head. I've also replaced the 175 millimeter field of view lens with the largest 500 millimeter field of view lens kit to give a larger area that we can capture while scanning. I am currently in the scan software again. We're going to enable a couple different things here than we did before. So I will first enable the align using targets option. So it will look for these targets. These are just strips of targets that I have stuck on to the Pelican case here. It will recognize those and align each frame that I capture using those targets. And then I will enable the laser indicator as well. So what this does is this is an indication of how close I should be to the object when I am moving my scanner. So as I move apart, you can see those laser points move further apart. If I get closer, they kind of merge. So your ideal distance is, somewhere in here. So let's go ahead and capture a couple of frames. And as I am scanning, you'll see this new data will pop up with indicators, little dots, wherever it recognized a target. And as I am scanning, I can either move the data, and you can see right here, this came in pretty good. I can either move the Pelican case, which is the object I'm scanning, or the tripod. Either one doesn't matter. So I could adjust this. I could move it up a little bit if I wanted to change the angle, capture a little more of the top here, like that. Click scan. And you will see that as it's capturing, it finds the targets in each frame and lines them up accordingly. There you go. And then I could move this over here a little bit. Maybe capture something like that. And then I just continue until I have enough data for whatever I am trying to capture on this object. And the processing is the exact same processing steps as we did with the turntable. So that is the C500. If you have any specific questions or maybe would like to have a specific item scanned, feel free to send us an email or give us a call and we would love to help you out.